Welcome to the series Employee Health Services, Mind, Body, and Spirit. Employee Health is a section in the City of Albuquerque's Risk Management Division. Its mission is to promote a sense of community and increase wellness among city employees and their families by providing education and counseling about physical and mental health. And now, Mind, Body, and Spirit with Dr. Julia Bain.
Hello, welcome to Mind, Body, and Spirit. My name is Dr. Julia Bain, and today we have a very special program for you and a very special guest, the Executive Director of the Ronald McDonald House of, and I don't want to mess up her title, House Charities of New Mexico, Kristin Rortvedt. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
I'm so pleased to have you here. So pleased.
Nothing but smiles all around.
I love
these.
I know. And thank you for bringing these fun props, and thank you for your service to our community. You run a very important program and do a lot of fabulous things, and we have 30 minutes to see if we can cover just about everything. And I think it's always prudent to start with, what is your mission? What is the mission of Ronald McDonald House Charities? What are you all doing?
Yeah, so our mission statement is to provide comfort, care, and a home away from home for families who have a child in medical treatment.
Okay.
So what that means is we actually have two core programs, the Ronald McDonald House program, and that's actually a 30 guest room facility. So we have a really giant place where we have 30 families every night of the year and provide them a place to stay, food to eat, and really an environment of support and respite so they can put all of their energy on their kiddo.
Wow.
And then our other program that's a little less known is the Ronald McDonald Family Room, and we can talk about that a little bit as well. And that's a space that's inside the hospital. So we have two. We have one at the University of New Mexico Children's Hospital and one at Presbyterian. So it's this amazing little respite space that's just steps from the hospital bedside. So families can go and get a cup of coffee, grab a bite to eat, get on a computer, do a load of laundry, all of those things that you need to do. But for a lot of families, their child is so critical that the idea of leaving the hospital walls is outside of their comfort zone. So we bring it to them. We bring the house to them inside the hospital.
How comforting. And because everyone's worst nightmare is to have the child in your family, whether it's your own child or your niece or your nephew or your grandchild or just your child become seriously ill. And so during that difficult time, you all are there to help.
And you know, for so many of our families, to stay at the Ronald House, the only requirement is that you live 50 miles outside of Albuquerque. So imagine you're from a tiny little town in northern New Mexico, and the doctors there tell you, you know, we've done everything that we can for your child here. Now, in addition to the fear that you're feeling from what the doctor is telling you, you have to go to Albuquerque, the big city. You don't know what's there. You don't know where you're going to sleep that night. You don't know how you're going to eat and afford everything. So our services are really essential to keeping families close and keeping families together in a really scary time.
Yeah, it's a family crisis, and it's traumatic for everyone.
Absolutely.
So you have the actual house where 30 families. So if what if it's two parents and their 12-year-old daughter? Can they all stay there?
They can. So, you know, family units are very different. And so sometimes it's just dad, and sometimes it's mom and dad and grandma and brother, sister. So it's this whole big family unit. So our house, the 30 guest rooms that we have, they're all a little bit different shape and size, just like families in New Mexico are a little bit different shape and size. So we have some rooms that are perfect for a single parent, and then we have large suites that work better for larger families that have siblings or extended family that might need to be there to support them.
How much does this cost?
So for families, we ask families for a $15 a night donation to stay at the house. That being said, we never turn anybody away for their inability to stay.
That's nothing. That's 2 lattes.
Right. It is. And it seems like a very small price, but for some of our families, it's not just 1 or 2 nights. It's 1 or 2 months or 3 or 4 months. And that $15 a night adds up really, really quickly when you have your mortgage at home and you suddenly have medical expenses. So we never turn anybody away for their inability to make a $15 donation per night. In fact, last year, about 85% of our families last year paid nothing to stay at the Ronald McDonald House, and we're great with that. We're here to alleviate stress, and adding a financial burden is not what we're here for. So we want to make sure that families have a place where they can lay their head at night without having to worry about $100 hotel night. Can
What
you imagine?
what an amazing gift. What an
Yeah.
amazing gift.
We hope so.
And at this juncture, I think we should go ahead and don our noses.
Oh, very good.
I've been practicing something.
Oh,
Ready?
yes. Go.
Now, if you want to be a volunteer at Ronald McDonald's house,
Yes.
is it required that you're able to say, to all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, and sesame seed bun? Do they need to like?
It's not required, but I think it would be fun. We need
You look
joy
really,
bringers.
you look really funny.
Isn't this great?
Yeah.
You look lovely, actually. I think you should wear the nose for all of your meetings. It's great.
Thank you for bringing this
Of
gift.
course. We
If-
need Ronald noses. It's important.
It is important. It is important. What if somebody wants to be a part of this amazing? I mean, let's talk about. It's not just the lodging that you do. You do so much. For example, if you want to be a volunteer, you can go in and cook a meal for these families. Will you
Very
talk about
true.
that for a minute?
Absolutely. So every night of the year, we provide an evening meal for our families. So after a long day of spending with doctors and nurses and hearing about what's going on with their kiddo, they spend the day at the hospital, and then they come back to the house. The last thing they want to think about is what's for dinner that night. So we take care of that for them. We have amazing volunteers who come in and make a homemade meal. So they come back, and there's this great family-style meal available for them. They can eat whenever they feel like it, whenever they're done at the hospital with their kiddo. So we have literally thousands of volunteers every single year that make meals for our families, and it's the greatest gift. I don't want to think about what's for dinner after a day of work. I can't even imagine after a day at the hospital. It's the last thing on their mind. And we know, unfortunately, a lot of our families just would choose not to eat if that meal wasn't provided for them. They're just exhausted, so they would just come back and go crash and not find that meal.
Not to mention, an appropriate and normal reaction would be depression, anxiety. Your child could be dying. And so also the fact that you have a community of people who are very much have something in common with you, are there to lean on, maybe make a friend, cry with each other. The fact that everybody comes together, I think, is therapeutic in itself, right?
It definitely is. You know, all of our families have their own private guest room, and we want them to have that privacy and that space where they can escape, but we don't ever want anybody to isolate themselves. So the magic of the Ronald McDonald House really is in our public spaces. In our large living room, we have several sitting areas, we have this giant kitchen and dining area, and it's those spaces that environment is created, and families can sit together and share a meal after a day at the hospital and talk about how are the seizures, how did the surgery go, what happened today, and they talk about it and they become their own family because everyone there is away from their normal support network. So they create something new and really unique and special. And so people might be from Raton and Roswell, and they might be there for very different reasons and different illnesses of their kiddo, but they understand what it feels like to have a child in the hospital, to be away from home, to be scared. We often hear stories of moms waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, not able to sleep. They go downstairs to get a cup of tea, and there's another family member sitting there, and they sit and help each other through that tough moment and then go on with their day. So that's really the beauty of our program. It's not that it's just a place to rest and food to eat. It's just this really supportive environment that is essential to their own care.
It's magic. It's magic. I didn't realize everything that you do and how it's done. I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
For offering such a wonderful service to so many people.
You know, it really is our pleasure to get to do it. We're so lucky that we get to interact with the families every single day. You know, I get to the office in the morning and I go to the kitchen and I get my morning cup of coffee, and inevitably there's a mom and dad sitting there in their PJs having their breakfast, and I say good morning and they tell me what's happening that day, and they invite me into their life, and I get to be a part of their world for just a moment in time. And unfortunately, there's some families that we see just for 2 or 3 days, and there's some families that we see for many, many months, depending what's happening with their child.
Now, are you a social worker or a counselor? Or?
I'm not. No, actually, my background is in communications, public relations,
You're an executive
do-gooding
director,
stuff. Yeah,
right?
right. It's kind of all over the map,
But that doesn't shield you from, I'm sure, the compassion fatigue
Right.
that comes along with the job, because sometimes you have to say goodbye to people, and their child didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. And we as a staff talk about that a lot, and we take care of each other because it's really important. We see families going through really, really challenging times, and we see kids that have some of the worst possible things happen to them. It's not fair, but we want to help them, so we help and show our strength and bravery for those families, and then we have to make sure that we're doing a lot of self-care and taking care and doing the things that we need to do to rejuvenate ourselves and make sure that we're not too burdened.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the joy of love.
It's true.
To be able to
I feel like we
love
should start
someone.
singing that song, "The Joy of Love." What's that? From the movie. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, please!
There's a Bette Midler song. That's the Gloria. That's the.
That's the glory
Yeah, thank
of.
you.
That's the glory of love. Absolutely. Thank you for giving me that lead in.
Like nobody wants to hear me sing, but that would be the perfect thing for you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to sing again. So what if somebody wants to utilize your services? How does one get the opportunity to take advantage of Ronald McDonald?
So we work really closely with the social workers at the hospital. So it's essential for us to make sure that we're serving those families who are most in need. And so the social workers actually refer families to us. Families can also find information on our website if they need help. The only requirements to stay at the Ronald McDonald House are that you have a child in medical treatment and that you live 50 miles outside of Albuquerque or further. And then the social worker provides a referral to us. For our family room programs, those are open to anyone who has a child in the hospital, whether you live 2 blocks from the hospital or 2,000 miles from the hospital. So it just depends on where where you live. Sometimes if your child's in the hospital, 2 miles seems like 2,000 miles. The last thing you want to do is spend that time in the car. So our family room program is open to anyone, regardless of mileage.
And is it a coffee pot and a lazy boy chair, or what's in that family room?
It is both of those things.
Okay.
Actually, Lazy Boy is fantastic. They furnished all of our Presbyterian room just 2 years ago. Yeah. So it is when you walk into the family rooms, instead of walking into a hospital waiting room, it's more like you're walking into somebody's home. So you walk in and there's a volunteer who's there with a friendly, smiling face.
Or need a pair of socks. Love these. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So there's always a volunteer who greets the families with a smile and a friendly face. There is a living room area that has super comfy chairs and love seats. There is a kitchen area that's fully stocked with snacks that are free to the families. So they're quick, easy things that they can grab and go.
Oh, nice,
A cup of coffee, because everybody needs coffee all day long. We also have computers, so families can stay in touch with family and friends, try to do work if they need to. Both of our family room programs also have washers and dryers, so families can wash their own clothes. I was just at the family room last week at the University of New Mexico Hospital, and a mom was there, and she said she hadn't left the hospital walls in 3 weeks. And she had 3 outfits, so she would come up to our room once a week and rewash the same outfits over and over and over again. And that's why that is really essential. And then at Presbyterian, we also have 4 sleeping rooms inside the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So if moms and dads need to stay really, really close, they can go and get a couple of hours of sleep in the middle of the night without leaving the hospital, and they can still be really close.
It is such a compassionate service.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things that people don't know that you need it until you're in the situation. I talk to people all the time who have heard about the Ronald McDonald House, but they don't really know what we do or how we do it. And then once they have heard of somebody who has used the program, people are all in, because it's something that you never know you're going to need. You never want to think about needing a program with an ill child, but once they realize what it is, people want to help in any way they can. We're so lucky to have so much community support, whether it's the people coming and making dinner, the volunteers at the family room. We have volunteers that come in and do bingo nights for the families, anything to try to help their life seem more normal.
How can somebody give you some money?
Well, we are always happy to accept that as well.
What's your funding sources, and how, if somebody just perused your website, which, go ahead and say what that is.
It is rmhc-nm.org. If people just Google Ronald McDonald House Albuquerque,
Okay.
you'll find us.
Okay.
You'll find us.
And if they have a credit card in their hand, it's that easy.
It is. There's a little donate now button at the top of the page so they can go online immediately and donate. If they want to come and see our facility to get a tour of the house, we love to show people around so that they get a better understanding of what we do. They can write us a check, they can bring us pennies, whatever they want to do. We're happy to do it.
Well, and just a reminder to the audience, sometimes it's really difficult to be in this world with 7.2 billion other people. And sometimes we can feel helpless, like there's so much suffering, there's so much sadness, and I'm just one person. How can I make a difference? Here's how you can make a difference. Whether it's $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you can do, you can donate to agencies like Ronald McDonald House and Charities, whether it's your agency or any other agency, and pull out your wallet. That's how you can make a difference. That's what you could do after you finish watching the nightly news and you feel sick to your stomach. So one way that you can make a difference. So I appreciate that you make giving so easy.
Well, and we want to make sure that people, obviously we love cash donations, but there's some people that just have other obligations and can't. And so we love when people give their time and their talent to us as well.
Yeah, the cooking.
The cooking is amazing. We have people that crochet blankets. So every family who comes to the Ronald McDonald House, they get a welcome bag. And one of the things in that welcome bag is a handmade blanket. So we have people from all over the state that crochet and knit and quilt blankets for us that we give to the families as a gift. We have people that make welcome cards. We have people that help us answer the phone, that clean the house for us. There's a ton.
Ronald McDonald House of Angels. I've just given you a new title.
I'm all for it. Because we have a tiny little staff. We have 8 full-time employees, and we are a 24/7, 365-day-a-year program. So with our 8 staff, we have 4,000 plus volunteers who offer their time. And that might be somebody who comes for 2 hours and makes dinner one night, or that might be somebody who comes every Tuesday from noon to 3 o'clock and helps us answer the phone. We just have a really amazing community, and that is one of the things that I love about this city and this state. People are so giving and supportive to their neighbors. We're really, really lucky. We're lucky here.
Well, this is our town.
It is.
This is Albuquerque, right? This is our town. How many, what is the number of clients served per calendar year or fiscal year, however you count it?
So for the family room programs, we have about 16,000 visits a year to those 2 family room programs.
Wow.
So we have families that
people are using it.
They are, which is great. It could be a really pretty room, but nobody there.
Exactly.
But so we have 16,000 visits a year to the family room. And then we have about 1,100 families every year who stay at the Ronald McDonald House.
Wow.
And those families might stay, for our average length of stay is about 9 days. But some families are there for 1 or 2 nights. The longest since I've been working at the Ronald McDonald House is 361 days. So nearly a year a family was there. Their son was born very, very, very early. He was born at 24 weeks, which is essentially 3 months early. He was just over a pound. They actually have this amazing little picture of him laying here next to an iPhone, and they were about the same size, which is amazing. And so he spent pretty much the first year of his life in the neonatal intensive care unit. And while he was at the hospital, his mom and dad and siblings stayed with us. So every day is a little different.
Good night. And which makes me think of the financial burden for families too. I mean, some people essentially have to quit their jobs because, we have a generous policy here at the city of Albuquerque, but nobody gets a year of sick leave.
Right.
An FMLA paperwork, people might get FMLA at their place of employment, but that's only 12 weeks a year. So I'm sure you have families that lose their jobs. Is that correct?
It absolutely is true, and that's one of the hardest things. You see these families and they're trying to put all of their energy into their child and get that child healthy and get them back home. But unfortunately, employers have to keep their doors open and keep working, and so they can't hold that position all the time. So that's when it's really scary for some of our families, when they have all these medical expenses and then they lose their job at home. So we see everything at the Ronald McDonald House.
You sure do. I want to refer to my notes because I want to make sure I don't forget anything.
Yes.
One of the things you told me on the phone the other day was that you have 349 houses around the globe.
It's true. So we're a giant network of support and compassion. What's interesting, if I have time to tell a quick little...
We have 10 minutes.
We have
so
10 minutes?
yes.
Oh,
and
great.
I want you to also tell that good story about how the whole Ronald McDonald House got started, because that's a really good story.
Super. We'll start there.
Okay.
Because then I can fast forward.
Okay.
So 1974, an amazing little connection between a professional football player, a fast food restaurant, and a pediatric cancer doctor created the very first Ronald McDonald House.
Were they all friends?
No. So let me tell you. This amazing couple, Fred and Fran Hill, had, Fred was a professional football player for the Philadelphia Eagles, and his daughter Kim was diagnosed with leukemia. So while Kim was doing her treatment, Fred and Fran were spending all this time in the hospital, and they saw families sleeping in chairs in the waiting room, sleeping in their cars, trying to find a comfortable spot on the floor of their child's hospital bed. And they said, there's got to be something better that we can do. This is just not okay. So they started talking to one of their friends who lived down the street from them, who worked for McDonald's, and said, hey, if we did something, could you help us do fundraising? And they said, absolutely. And then they started talking to Kim's doctor, Dr. Audrey Evans, who's this incredible woman. And so they all got together and partnered and did the very first fundraiser for the very first house was the sale of the Shamrock Shake. I don't know if you go to McDonald's, they have these yummy, delicious minty shakes that were the first fundraiser. And they built that very first house in 1974 in Philadelphia.
What do you know?
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. And now, so fast forward to 1982, and the Ronald McDonald House in New Mexico was built. We were the 41st Ronald McDonald House.
All right.
Fast forward to today, there are 349 Ronald McDonald Houses across the world, and we are on almost every continent. Not Antarctica and a few others, but we are on almost every continent. And I think, that kind of growth in 40 years, unfortunately shows how necessary this program really is and how much need there is for keeping families close in a really trying time. So it's pretty incredible. But to then backtrack, so our house here in New Mexico, although we're a part of this giant network of the Ronald McDonald House Charities, we are individually incorporated here in New Mexico. So we have our autonomous rules and guidelines here in New Mexico. We are governed by a board of directors that is local, so we can make decisions that work best for New Mexican families.
Okay.
We are the only Ronald McDonald House in the whole state, so whenever anybody comes to us,
And we're the 5th largest state in the nation. This is a big state.
isn't that amazing? I mean, but you go to Texas and there are, I think, 10 Ronald McDonald houses, and it's based really on population and where childhood specialties are.
Yeah.
In our state, if you have a child that needs medical care, they almost always have to come here to Albuquerque. In the regions of New Mexico, there just isn't that kind of care that's available at any sort of elevated level. So we are governed locally, and we have this amazing group of 21 board members who help make sure that we are honest, ethical, doing the right thing, transparent, financially responsible, all of those things. So we've got good folks.
Yeah, and you are really very, very good. Your agency is very good at fundraising. I know that Girls' Night Out has become this huge success. I mean, I know lots of women who wouldn't miss that for the world.
I hope they don't.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest misconceptions with our program is that McDonald's funds us completely and wholly. And we obviously are grateful. McDonald's is our mission partner, and they have been with us since day one. Locally, the most support that we get is from all the McDonald's are franchises. So they're small business owners, they're families in New Mexico who own those restaurants. And so those families, there's about 20 of them here in New Mexico, give us about 15% of our budget. And so that comes from their support.
Wow.
So we fundraise the rest of our budget through amazing events like Girls' Night Out. That's an event that we do every spring that is for women only. We have about 1,000 women who come out for pampering.
Yeah, it's big.
It is. It's massages and getting your hair and makeup done, and indulgences for the mind, body, and spirit is what I say. It's a good time just to go out and have a great night with your girlfriends. We have a golf tournament in the spring. In the fall, we have a program called Share the Love, Share a Night. It's a t-shirt fundraiser that we do. So there's all kinds of different things that we do throughout the year to try to bring attention to the work that we do. We also are really lucky that we just have a ton of individuals that give us gifts, whether it's $3 from a lemonade stand that a little kiddo does, or more than that through their corporate foundations, things like that. We're lucky to have a ton of support.
I think people, I'll just speak for myself. I can relate to how the suffering feels when you adore someone and they're in the hospital and you don't know what's going to happen to them. You know they're in pain. You know they're frightened. Everybody's frightened. And so I can relate just as an individual, having gone through losing, unfortunately, many people that I have adored who have been in the hospital. And I just know how tough it is. And I think most people do. I mean, if you have a life, if you are willing to love other people, those people will become hospitalized, and it is extremely difficult. So my guess is that one of the reasons why people want to give to your charities is because we've lived it. We've been there.
You know, it's so true. We just had a strategic planning session with our board, and one of the things that we really love to do is talk about why people first got connected with the Ronald McDonald House. And we had almost half of our board members say that they personally had used the Ronald McDonald House, or they had an immediate family friend who had. And those that haven't can only imagine what that feels like. And I think, you know, it's such a personal thing, and nobody wants to think about losing a child or a child being ill or injured. And so it really, it's interesting when it's an adult. That's natural progression of life somehow. But when it's a child, it makes it even more scary and sad and overwhelming for those families.
Absolutely. Yeah, you didn't see it coming.
Right.
Because people,
It's never supposed to happen.
people, we all age, we all might have 5 minutes left. Keep that in mind in terms of having gratitude for your life, please. We're just, every day is just, this could be our last day as adults. But when you're a little kid, you think, oh, I've got this whole, the world is my oyster, you know?
It's amazing though. We see these kiddos and they are so resilient and they are so tough. They'll come and they'll have had a spinal tap and chemo during the day, and then they come home to the Ronald McDonald House at night and they're in the living room and they're playing with Barbies and they're swinging on the swing. And they're just like, I'm just going to fight through it. This is just what you do.
So sometimes they leave the hospital and spend the night there with their families?
They do.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
so we have some kids who are inpatient. The vast majority of our kiddos are inpatient.
Okay.
But we do have some who are outpatient that are doing treatment every day. And so they can stay with mom and dad at the house.
Okay, wow.
And then we often have siblings. We often have brothers and sisters who are at the house while their sibling is in the hospital.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Final words of wisdom. We have 90 seconds.
Come see us. I think that's what I would encourage people. Come visit us. We'd love to give you a tour, show you around, find out about all the different ways that you can volunteer and get connected with who we are and what we do.
And how, if somebody wants to come and see you, how do they do it?
Give me a call at 842-8960 is our phone number, or you can go again online to our website at rmhc-nm.org.
And somebody can have a tour.
Yes. We would love to give people a tour just so that you better understand who we are and what we do. It's very different when you imagine the Ronald House in your mind, but when you come and see it firsthand, you get a better picture of what all is happening there.
And, this isn't literally part of your mission, but the feeling you have left me with today, Kristin, is you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone.
Very true.
We want to help you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming to my program.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I hope you will come back so we can talk some more.
Absolutely, because there's always more to talk about. I'd love to tell you some more stories about our kids, too.
I would love to hear those.
Great.
I think that'd be very inspiring.
So until next time.
Until next time. And you, thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. Julia Bain. Until next time, be happy and be well.
This has been Employee Health Services Mind, Body, and Spirit. For more information, call the City of Albuquerque's Employee Health Services at 768-4613. Let the Employee Health Services staff let you be your best at work, at home, and at play.